Unleash your inner geek when Barrelhouse Z and Inebri-art join forces for ZCon. Join us for a mind-blowing celebration of all things pop culture. Immerse yourself in a world of comics, gaming, cosplay, and more. Get ready for thrilling panels and unforgettable encounters with local artists and creators. Whether you're a superhero aficionado, a gaming guru, or just looking for an epic day of craft beer, come on out to ZCon. It has something for everyone. Grab your tickets, secure a spot at this extraordinary event happening on September 30th at Barrelhouse Z in Weymouth. Geek out with us at ZCon. You can get your tickets by going over to Inebri-art.com. That's INEBRI-ART.com. Check out our calendar events, and in September, just look up ZCon. See you there. Get ready for chills and thrills at Hometown Haunts and Hops Horror Convention here in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Join us for a spine-tingling day of horror-filled fun on October 28th at the Mayflower Brewing Company. Meet horror actor Matthew G. Taylor from Resident Evil and dive into a macabre world of cinema and literature. Sip on chilling brews, indulge in ghastly treats, and immerse yourself in a haunted atmosphere. Whether you're a horror buff or just seeking an unforgettable experience, Hometown Haunts and Hops has it all. Don't miss out on the eerie excitement. Secure your tickets now by heading on over to Inebri-art.com. Go to our events calendar, and in October you will find the link for Hometown Haunts and Hops, which is sponsored by HalloweenNewEngland.com. HalloweenNewEngland.com is the website for the truly Halloween obsessed, with the most extensive guides to New England haunted houses, ghost tours, classic horror film screenings, jack-o'-lantern festivals, haunted hayrides, and more. They've got all the thrills covered throughout September and October, with over 2,500 Halloween events on their events calendar and hundreds of local Halloween attractions. It's the only place you'll find everything from haunted history tours and costume contests to which haunts are open on Thursday nights. HalloweenNewEngland.com has your Halloween covered and is sponsoring Hometown Haunts and Hops this year. Welcome back, Inebri-ites. This is Andy, as always. Today on the show, we have Chloe Drallos. Did I get that right? Drallos. That was pretty close. A musician out of Detroit. She goes by Zilched. She got a new album out on August 11th, Earthly Delights. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No problem. So, I'm just going to say, we had some technical issues, so this is our second go, so we're, if it seems a little forced or awkward, that's why. But so I believe we had just started kind of talking about the music scene in Detroit and post-COVID and everything. But you have this new album coming out, so are you going to be looking to tour in support of the album? Are you is there an album release somewhere in Detroit going on? What's your plan for this album?
Yeah, I'm actually doing the longest tour I've ever done. We're doing 2 weeks with our friends and my bass player's other band, Zastava. And It starts with our release show at L Club in Detroit on August 19th.
So you said it's the longest tour. Where are you headed? Do you have something or a spot that you're excited about hitting that you haven't done before, or kind of getting back to somewhere you wanted to be?
Yeah, we're going, so I've only been to Canada once in my whole life, and that was when we played Toronto last fall, and we're playing Toronto and Windsor, which will be cool. We're trying to play Montreal, but that has been the most difficult city of all of them, to be honest.
Why is it difficult? It's just hard to get into the clubs, or?
Oh yeah, just to book. That's everyone that I've been led to is like, oh, sorry, can't help. Hit up this person, and then they all just lead me back to each other, It's DIY booking.
That's it's one of those things is like, you know, we're kind of experiencing a little bit of that growth where you've kind of exceeded you're growing beyond what you have been doing, but you're not like to the point where you can be like, oh, I'll just hire someone to do that. So it sounds like you're kind of in that spot where you're booking your tours, and it is it becoming more of a job than you expected? Like,
Well,
everyone's like, oh, I want to be a musician, and then like, oh, it's a lot of work.
yeah, it's one of those things where like while I'm doing it, I'm like, I hate this. I should just hire someone. But
Yeah.
then once I book a good show and I know all the people that I talk to, or there's a tour where, you really get to, for lack of a better word, like curate it.
Hmm.
Um, and you actually get to meet everyone you're working with. Um, so it's definitely worth it. Like I could hire someone if I wanted to, but it's like, I don't know. It's worth it to just get through the hard parts.
Yeah. So how do you even start? I mean, you said you'd never been to Canada, and so
Hmm.
I'm assuming you're cold calling these clubs. I mean, is that? I mean, do
Well,
you just call them
it's
like, let me send you a demo and like try to get in that way, or?
no, actually, like the first couple years I was playing shows, I just like accepted every opening slot anyone gave me for touring bands, and I just kind of like built up some contacts of people in different places.
Hmm.
And then from there, I've just like managed to meet people in these places. And then you go play there with them and their friends. And then, their friends listen to you and whatnot. And then you can return and everyone becomes your friends. Um, and like for Canada, I had played with a Canadian artist and she helped me find some people.
That's always one of those things that I think a lot of people don't fully comprehend or appreciate is like that networking part of, I mean, any job, but even in a creative field, it's, I've had illustrator friends have jobs come their way and that they don't have time for, and they pass them off to their friends. Being kind of likable and approachable is like really important, I think.
Definitely. That's why like it's worth it to not have a booker, unless you really need it.
Hmm.
Um, because like this last tour I just did, we did with our friend Spoils from Cincinnati, and we played a couple days with this band Mana from Indianapolis. And just because we had all, played together before, like it just feels like old friends at this point because you return to the same kind of scenes and stuff every time you tour. And then you get to go and play other places together, and it's like it just feels like really it's a different kind of like deep friendship.
Yeah, I can imagine touring with someone is a different experience. Are there kind of pitfalls that you need to look out for? Have you, I don't want to say lost friends because of touring, but like, what's kind of like the issue that crops up the most? Because I mean, you're
Hmm.
living in close quarters, I would assume.
I think I mean I've definitely been on tour with people before that like, maybe we agreed like yeah, we like past bandmates or something that you just kind of agree like, maybe we'll stay friends better if we don't do this.
Yeah.
But which a lot of people go through. Like I've heard so many stories. But right now, honestly, like the band that I've had for over a year now is just like we get along so well. And you kind of learn too like where to take your personality out to just like get along and in a positive way too cuz like you're kind of, it's about the group, it's not about you. You're not on vacation.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, it's that's kind of a thing I'm going through now and learning is we run so many local events, And I've made so many great friends from running these
Mhm.
events and different artists and creators of all kinds. But now it's kind of to the point where we work with so many people that you're like, okay, I can't be friends with everybody.
Yeah,
So
that's another
yeah,
part too. You kind of have to like take the sentimentality away sometimes. Because otherwise, too, it'd be really hard. Like, I've met people and been like, damn, I feel like we could be best friends if I only lived in the same city as you. That's so sad. But you kind
yeah.
of just have to get over it and be like, well, I'll just come back. It'll be fine. I won't see them for the whole year, maybe for 2 years, but then I'll come back and we'll hang out. And
See,
like,
it's so funny because like I almost feel like the exact opposite way, where like I can't be
mm,
your friend because I can't be friends with everybody. And not saying that like
mhm.
friends are always looking for favors, but it becomes like, if you need to contact me for business, it better be through my business email. Don't,
Okay, yeah.
don't like hit me up on my
Yeah,
Facebook
yeah. I think
Messenger and it,
it's kind of the same thing for me too, though, where it's like you kind of have to just be like, this this friendship can exist, at these times, but you kind of have to let it go. Or like there are times when you're too busy and like you really care about this band that's coming through town. Maybe you're going to be
Mhm.
out of town. So it's like all you can really do is be like, here's someone else I trust, hit them up.
Do you ever have like an issue with kind of like work life balance? Because I mean, like we get into creative fields because we love to create and it's
Mm-hmm.
fun and it's enjoyable and it usually starts as a hobby and then it takes a turn into work. And then that line of work and fun blurs to the point where you're like, I can't even tell when I'm working anymore and when I'm having fun, which is awesome. But at the same point, I kind of feel like I'm always working at the same time.
Mm. I think my example of that would kind of be within the band itself
Mm-hmm.
of just there's times where you're like, oh yeah, wait, we love to hang out too. We don't just practice and get to the show together.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to remind yourself and each other of that, which like touring always does remind you of that. Um, because like sometimes you're practicing so much, then you don't ask your bandmates to hang out, and then you're like, dang, why are we turning into coworkers? I feel like that's the only place where it really gets to me. Because outside of that, I think I have a pretty good balance of it. Like I'm a homebody, and
Yeah.
so I always end up having time to get those things done.
Yeah. It's important to kind of like find that decompression. But it's funny that you said that because it's my business partner, it's my best friend. And
Mm-hmm.
it'll get to the point where we'll do so many events in a row where it's just like, we both agree, be like, all right, I don't want to hear from you for like 2 days.
Yeah.
And you just like, I need like my space from you. Um, yeah, and it's like you almost have to kind of schedule that time. And we ended up with like crazy thunderstorms here yesterday. So we ended up hanging out playing Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, and it was like super nerdy. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. I enjoy your friendship."
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
oh, that's funny. And you said, but you kind of get that resurgence of like why you do it when you're on tour. I mean,
Definitely. It
there's
was just like the fact you get reminded of like how much you love just hanging out and goofing around together. Because
is
it
it just
is a little easy to forget when like you got to schedule practices and they're usually kind of late and everyone already worked their other jobs. And then I just feel like annoying boss sometimes because I'm like, okay, we got to practice. Okay, I need to know if you guys are available for this. Like, so I'll
yeah.
try not to bother them it's like I almost feel like I'm bothering them if I'm like, okay, and also like, do you guys want to hang out?
But I mean, is it
But
because
once
there's
they're on
like
tour,
so much downtime on the tour, like when you're like traveling
yeah,
from place to
yeah,
place?
and you're all in the car together and just talking and hanging out until it's time to play.
Yeah, I mean, road trips are the best. Like if you're
Yeah,
with good people,
definitely.
yeah. What do
And
you?
I have such a good group right now. Like
Yeah.
we all get along so much or so well.
So you're traveling with a bunch of musicians. Who controls the radio?
Oh, it usually someone puts on a playlist and then it just turns into a queue on Spotify. of everyone like, hey, cue this. Hey, can I cue this? Hey, cue this and this. And then the queue gets so long that, it takes like an hour to hear the song that you asked for.
It's fun. There's a bar that I'll go to after work. Sometimes I grab a beer, and there's a jukebox in the back that no one ever uses, and there's just an
Mm-hmm.
iPad that gets passed around the bar, and people will queue up. All the regulars queue up what they want to hear, and sometimes someone will be like, they'll pass it to you, be like, all right, this is the theme for today, and it's just kind of a really fun way of getting to share music and learn about new stuff.
That is super cool. Yeah, when we were with Spoils, I was definitely saving songs that they were putting in the queue because we had a group chat in the van, and then we would just text our requests to the driver or well, the passenger seat who had the aux.
Yeah.
The, yeah, it's a cool thing when like you get a theme going, and then you
Do
get to
you
turn.
sorry. Do you like when you hear something new, or you're like, oh, I'm saving to roll this out on the road trip?
What do you mean saving to roll this out?
So like if you, because I'm always sharing music with my friends, but I have those friends who I'm like, oh, I just, for me, it's like I just interviewed this cool new person and go check out their music. Um,
Mm.
but like, do you kind of like to surprise your bandmates? I mean, when you're on the road with, like, are you kind of looking to share new music, I suppose, or is it kind of like the stuff everybody knows? I suppose that's
I think typically we try to play stuff that we know each other will like. Sometimes people do get like, okay, I just need to hear this. Sorry, you have to sit through it. Um, I feel like that's mostly me
yeah.
because I I'm the female with the most female taste in the group.
Okay.
But yeah, it's usually, I mean, we all enjoy everything each other plays though.
Yeah. Um, I think before we were having technical issues, I was asking you about um your your writing, and you're saying that you pretty much start with lyrics because you live in an apartment and you can't be too loud. Um, so have you always been writing lyrics? Were you kind of like into poetry? Like how does one start writing lyrics, I suppose? Like what's your process for
Um,
that?
I'm always writing lyrics, and since I was pretty young too, like I've been writing songs since I was like 12, 13 years old. I don't know, they never really start in the same way, to be honest. I'm just writing things down most of the
Mhm.
time. And then usually when I'm sitting down to do it, that's when the most comes out. And then I'll just kind of reference the little things I've gathered.
Oh, so did you kind of like
But of
make
course,
notes of like interesting lines or whatever, and then kind of like call back to
yeah. And
them?
sometimes I will just kind of write most of a song without any music. And then I'll just kind of have to find on the guitar where the song is, you know? Um, yeah, I don't know. I think I write in a when it comes to music, because honestly, the last time I was like just, messing around and experimenting and stuff on the guitar was like at my parents' house when I could be as loud as I wanted. And
Yeah.
since then, like I really just like it's all unplugged in my room. Um, so
Do you think that's going to change the style of what you write?
I actually was just talking about this with my boyfriend who's also a songwriter and stuff, and like we're very different in that way of like he and his band will just write entire instrumental songs, and then before a show he'll be like, damn, I gotta like finish the lyrics for this thing, where I'm like, no way, I need to get this whole thing like edited, arranged, like lyrics wise before anyone even hears it. But I find that I write it's definitely developed in this direction in the past couple years of I just kind of like in poetry you almost have like a loop of these rhymes, And
Hmm.
there's a word for it, but I did not study these things, so I don't know the terms or anything.
I'm a terrible student, so you
But
can make up a
basically,
word,
like
I have to believe you.
yeah, I'll kind of end up using like a loop of chords
Hmm.
as that rhyme base, if that makes sense. And then I just like come up with the melodies on top of that and just go over and over and come up with all the melodies I can. And then sometimes, I have a melody where I'm like, this needs to go somewhere else. And so I'll change what I'm playing. But I've honestly written so many songs at this point that are just the same chords all the way through with many changing melodies.
Yeah,
Because it's all based around the lyrics more so. Like the music is there to just move the melodies along.
for sure. Yeah, and it's an old rock trope that there's only like so many chords in rock music, and a buddy of mine and his band would do uh like a medley of different songs, and like the songs changed frequently inside the medley. He's like, yeah, it's because they're all the same chords. He's like, it doesn't matter, it's the same chords. No one it's He's like, they're all popular songs, and it's just so it's amazing how creative people can do so much using the same basic, you know, core items.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Do you, but do you feel like now that I think initially what I meant was like, do you feel that now that you're living in your apartment and um, that your music is going to be kind of softer and more mellow because you can't play as loud as you want? Like, do you think it's going to affect that way?
Um, I'm definitely just in a very mellow phase currently of
Oh, okay. So just
songwriting. Yeah, definitely right now I am. But like with this album and stuff, no, because like once I start demoing and recording it, like I can do kind of like because I demo everything myself before the band learns it or before it's recorded in the studio, and I always can hear when I'm writing like where the noise is gonna go, and how
yeah.
it's gonna build. So I don't think that would be a reason for that necessarily. But I have thought about how it's definitely limited some possibilities because the songs are written to my imagination, not to kind of what I let happen while experimenting.
Okay, yeah. So it kind of limits that kind of happy accident where you're like, yeah, yeah, I like that. I didn't mean to do it, but it sounds right, kind of thing.
Yeah, which that definitely still happens in the studio and stuff, but I definitely have like very recently been thinking about this of like, wow, I wonder like also I wonder how much better of a guitar player I would be if I still just like played loud at home because it's been a few years of me not doing that ever.
Yeah. I find it so, and I feel like I come from a much different time. I know I've talked about it before, but when I was in school, it was like you listen to rap or you listen to hair metal or you listen to pop songs. Like there wasn't
Mhm.
intermingling, and so I can't tell if it's me mellowing in my old age. Um, that I don't listen like the hardcore metal and stuff that I used to listen to. I don't listen to much anymore, and like I don't know if
Mhm.
it's that or I just feel more comfortable listening to a wide range of stuff because I feel like I'm over that kind of categorization, and I think most of the world is. It seems like everyone's much more into a wide variety. Um, but do you feel people are still kind of pigeonholed that way, or do you think it's people are more eager to listen to a bunch of different things?
It so depends. It really does because I have never felt pigeonholed in my life, to be honest. Like I have always been a fan of, maybe in middle school I was a little like I was one of those annoying classic rock kids. when I was like 13. But
I'm afraid to ask, what do you consider classic rock?
oh, like dad rock. I've got an old dad, so
Oh, okay, all right.
like 70s, 80s.
Okay.
But I I think just because I'm around musicians and male musicians and stuff most of my time that I'm talking about these things, there are definitely still people that are so pigeonholed, but like, you know, they're in the minority for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's sometimes I feel like I've gone to see bands with musician friends and they kind of suck the fun out of it because they're so like, oh, they're flat or they're, you know, oh, they hit the wrong note here. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, it's a live
How do you even
performance.
notice that? I don't notice
I
this unless I
I
know the
don't know.
songs. And
They
even
try,
then, I'm like, that happens, whatever.
yeah, and to me it's just like, okay, like there's been times where you go to see someone and you're like, woof, this band's terrible.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
but just to be like so nitpicky, I'm like, yeah, that's not, especially like rock music. That's not.
Yeah, I definitely just tell myself that those people are insecure and I feel bad for them.
I'm thinking of the people that I had in mind. Yeah, you might be right.
Usually, that's usually how it goes.
What is your favorite experience for listening to live music? Are you like a barroom person, a medium-sized club? Do you want to see like the big headliner touring a stadium? Like, do you have a preferred experience?
Um, I mean, I think if I have to choose something, I'd say like my favorite is just like a small club where it's still small, but the sound is amazing and there's lights and stuff. But
Hmm.
honestly, I think like different bands are made for different spaces, and different songs.
Sure. Yeah,
Cause
that makes
like
sense.
I've got, friends bands that like sound incredible in just a fucking dive bar, or in a basement or something. But then like I saw I saw Stevie Nicks last fall, and that was, at this huge amphitheater, and but it felt right. Like it didn't feel like too far away. It was like, no, she's huge. That's why she's so far away, and these
Yeah.
songs are huge. Um,
Yeah, I saw Guns N'
yeah,
Roses when they started touring again, and I'm like, I don't feel like that could be anything less than a stadium because it's kind of a spectacle.
yeah, yeah, which I think is awesome too. And
Yeah.
like, when I've seen my favorite like larger bands. Like I saw the Jesus and Mary Chain once, and I it was in this like huge theater, and I was in the standing room for that theater. So it is such a different feeling than being, standing in a bar. But you're around the lights and the songs are so much bigger than you and that room that like you take it in as it
Yeah.
is there. But then there's certain times where it's like I want to like feel the sweat flicking off of these people's hair, you know?
Yeah, of course. And it's so funny. Like the crowd can like totally make or break a show. Like me and a friend of mine went and saw this Irish band. I'm a big fan of them, and they literally came uh within 6 blocks of my house. So I'm like, I have to go see them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in this old hall that's been, I mean, Dylan played it back in like the 60s or 70s, and
Awesome.
it's laid out terrible. So like our seats are basically to their stage left, and you're facing across, not at the stage. So you would literally have to like turn your neck the entire time to watch the show. And so it wasn't a sellout. So I'm like, hey, let's scooch over to those seats. There, it's a better angle, and
Mm-hmm.
that whole section was empty. So we moved over there, and within like 20 minutes of the band coming on stage, this woman comes up. She goes, "Hey, there's some guys. Do you mind if they come sit behind you? Because they're sitting with old people, and the old people hate them." And it turns out it was like these, 21, 24-year old, guys that were there that loved the band and wanted to like, dance and sing along and have a grand old time. And
Mm-hmm.
it was the oldest crowd. Like I don't know if there's anyone there like under 70, to the point where the lead singer would be like, this is a song you should all up for. And everyone would stand up. And then at the end of the song, they'd all sit down.
Oh my God.
Except for our section. We were all like yelling and dancing and having a grand old time. And someone I ran into after the show, they're like, you were sitting in the best section. I'm like, we made that section. It didn't even exist.
That's so funny. I've definitely been in that situation before because like my friends and I are like, we gotta dance. We love to dance. Um and as a music like a performer too, like it means so much when like there's at least someone you can connect to.
Yeah.
Um but I've definitely been in the audience at shows where like the age group just feels there's like generational differences or they're just old because it's also been with younger people. Like I've definitely been in the situation you're talking about. And then I like a year or so ago, my friend and I saw this band, this Russian band, the Russian band that is very had a very big moment on TikTok. And she's
Am I
very
supposed
not.
to know who that is? I
I
don't.
don't want to say the band name wrong, just in case. But
Oh, okay. Russian
it's like
band TikTok.
Molcat Doma, but it might be, it might be
Okay.
different. But my friend is very like not online at all, and
Okay.
she had been listening to this band since before they were TikTok huge, and she told me about them, and we really wanted to go, and then we went, and we were like, oh yeah, they're huge on TikTok because everyone is so young here, and everyone has X's on their hands. Um,
Oh, yeah.
and
Okay.
these young people were getting so bothered by us because they all got there super early and got in the front. And we're like, we're trying to dance. This is, you know, fun. We're trying
Yeah.
to have fun. And they were like pushing us. They were pushing us away from them when we were dancing
Oh
because
my
they didn't
God.
lose their spots.
And were they there just to hear like the one song they knew?
I mean, I don't doubt that they loved the band,
Yeah.
It was just like this difference of like, oh, you really want to keep your spot, but like we're just here to dance, you know?
Yeah.
And this might be the first like club/bar show you've been to. And so you don't know that you get knocked around and that's
Right.
how it works.
Yeah. You're gonna have beer spilled on you. That's gonna happen.
Yeah, like it was a funny experience.
Oh, that's interesting. Um, have you ever struggled to kind of like get a crowd like into the show? Like, is there a trick to kind of like connecting? I mean, if they're there to see you, that's, but like if you're in, you're touring or opening for someone else and they may be unfamiliar with your work, is it hard to connect with them? Do you kind of have like a, you know, magic trick that you roll out? I
um
don't know.
it either the crowd's good and I am in a great mood and I feel confident and people feel like they can warm up to me. But I think there's definitely been times like there was a night on this last tour where I was bothered with myself a little because if I'm really nervous or I'm
Yeah.
like in a space, I I've like my whole life I've kind of dealt with when I'm feeling shy, I look more intimidating.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And so I definitely had the thought of myself of like they're not warming up because I'm not warming up, but I can't warm up because they're not warming up.
Yep.
And that
That
definitely happens.
that is like it's such a trick, and it's when I started podcasting, when I was a kid, I was very shy, and I tell people that now, and they
Mhm.
don't believe me. But I started podcasting. I realized that like we set this bar of we're putting out 52 episodes a year, which is a lot,
Mhm.
and which means you're going to record on days you don't really feel like recording, and you still have to
Yeah.
like. So I'm like, I never thought that acting was going to become like part of what I do. And it's sometimes it's
Mhm.
just that you're so right. It's just that like initial like to get over the I don't really feel like talking to someone. Then you get involved in the conversation, like, oh no, this person's awesome, and I'm super happy that I'm
Yeah, but
talking to them.
if you don't feel like it, and then
It's
they
hard
give you
to get
nothing,
there. Yeah, oh
yeah,
yeah.
you just end up in a hole, and
Oh, and
you
we've
just dig
had
it.
some, yeah, and we've had some really really nice people on, but they're such shitty interviews where you're like, oh, you ask a question and they're like, yes. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you ask another question, like, oh man, I don't know. That's a hard question. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh great, you should probably elaborate on that a little bit. And so sometimes it can be really, really tough to kind of be entertaining at the same time when you because not every creative person is a talkative person.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a thing. Because honestly, like the best performances I've done are just when like I feel connected with my bandmates and I know the crowd is happy to be there. And then it just makes me, it just puts you in a good mood. And then when you're in a good mood and you're confident, like it just keeps getting better.
it and for me, I feel like it's always when you're kind of like that, it's you you're not actively thinking about it. Like
Right. Well,
you're
because
in that state and it's just happening.
I know people too who like I wish I was like this most of the time. I'm so sensitive, especially when I'm singing stuff. Like I'm so sensitive the room just like completely shifts my moods. But like we've played a few times with our friends in Catcher. And that's an artist who like I saw him play to, many people and
Mm-hmm.
he, you know, puts his all into this performance and then you see him play to five people and he does the same fucking thing. And like I admire that so much. I think it's so impressive because like I have no idea how it's possible.
Yeah, it's in where I live. There's one stretch of road. Um, well, it's kind of like two roads that kind of run along, parallel to the water. And
Mm.
for a mile stretch, there's 40 bars and restaurants, and most of them have music, 3 nights or more a week. And you'll go in and you'll see the guy playing to a half-empty room, um, and he is just going to town, top of his lungs, stomping his feet. Love you, Jeff Hilliard. And he just gives his heart and soul at every performance. And then you go to another place that's packed, and the guy's like watching TV and just kind of like going along with emotions and collecting this
Mm-hmm.
paycheck. It's
Yeah, and like honestly, there's times where like I'm that person. I feel like it makes it worse because I feel like I look like that person, but inside I'm like, someone's got to break this ice for me. I'm so uncomfortable up here. Um, so I'm always just giving people benefit of the doubt with that, to be honest. But it
yeah,
is so
yeah.
impressive when people like have have that performance gene in them because I honestly don't have it.
Is there a song that you tend to open your sets with that kind of gets you in the right headspace, or gets you like really jazzed about playing, that you like put a certain song there to kind of like avoid those situations?
Well, the song we've been opening for a bit with the title track from the new record, which is coming out soon. It's the next single. But
Earthly Delights.
yes, Earthly
Yeah.
Delights. But that one I really like opening with it because the live version is a bit stripped back
Mm-hmm.
and um like there's just kick drum in the intro and the verses. And so it's kind of cool to start super minimal with the song, to
Mm-hmm.
start the show with like just, the guitar, bass, kick drum, and then like I'm doing a little tambourine, but like I like starting sparse and just like building. I feel like that's my favorite way to do it because that's the thing too, like because I'm so sensitive, I can't just come out kicking. Like
Yeah.
I've got to build it up.
Yeah, that makes sense. You kind of like build to a crescendo.
Hmm.
Nice. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I'm not sure where we are at time wise because we had our little technical difficulty. But where can our listeners go to check out Earthly Delights when it comes out on August 11th, if it's not out already?
They can go anywhere. It'll be on all of the things. It's being put out by Young Heavy Souls, the record labels. So you could check their shop. You could go on all your favorite streaming. You could go on my Bandcamp. It's all on there.
Are you guys gonna have vinyl?
Yes,
Nice.
transparent red vinyl.
Ooh,
I'm
very
very
cool.
excited.
That's cool. Um, are you doing cassettes? Someone I interviewed the other day, they said they were putting out a cassette, and I'm like, oh my God, please tell me that's not a thing that people are doing.
Oh, it's so a thing. Yeah, we
Is
are.
it?
We've got
Shut up,
cassettes,
really?
CDs, and vinyl. Yeah, there's like, I mean, most
Why?
of like the the punk DIY scenes like really thrive off cassettes.
Really?
I mean, everyone has like old cars, too,
Oh,
and
again, I
like,
mean,
and it's easy. It's really easy to get a cassette player, tape player, and like they're so cheap for bands to order a bunch of, and
yeah.
it's really easy to start a cassette label. Yeah, it's
No.
it's
Okay.
it's pretty cool.
The
And the
quality's
one
so
time,
bad though.
yeah,
But I don't
but
know. I hated
people love
cassettes.
that.
I guess, I don't know.
The one time we did cassettes in the past, it was just two songs, and I sold out of them so fast.
That's crazy.
Because also you can sell them for like $5.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool, I suppose. Yeah, I guess. All right. I don't know if I'm gonna go. I'm not changing. I'm not getting a cassette recorder anytime soon. But if that's
I
what
mean, I
people
don't
like,
listen to them,
yeah, I don't
but I
like.
get
I
it.
just remember when we got rid of cassettes and went to CDs. I was so like jazzed because I'm like cassettes are just the quality's bad. I don't know. To each their
Honestly, I
own.
wish people would do more CDs than cassettes, but there's definitely, at least in the scenes that I end up in and around, way less CDs than cassettes.
It's so crazy. Like I have CDs. I don't have a way to play CDs. It's and I mean it's more just me not going out and getting one. It's so strange that I have so become so dependent on streaming that it's probably not a good thing.
I have an older car. My car's a 2000, so I've got all my CDs in there. That's
Yeah,
all I listen to because I also don't listen to the radio like at all. That's how I don't know.
I've gotten
Gen-
to the I I have like a Bluetooth thing in my car, so I just hop in and it automatically plays what I was listening to on my phone. So
Mm.
I love that. Um, So okay, Earthly Delights, August 11th. They can check it out everywhere. That's going to be on vinyl and cassettes if that's your thing. No judgment. I mean, a little bit of judgment from me, but that's because I'm old. Where can they check out your tour dates?
Also on everything. Oh yeah, I have a website. I always forget. It's www.zilchedmusic.com. And all
Nice.
of these things are condensed into that space.
So they can go there and find out all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And then, I'm on Instagram more than anything. So
is that the best place? Yeah. You're not
yeah, that's
you're not on the TikTok yet.
I try. It's just like I don't enjoy myself on there. You know what I mean? Like I'll share things because I should, but it's not like I'm going into the app to like pass time in the way that I am with Instagram, or I'm still on Tumblr too, but that's private.
Yeah, I went. I joined TikTok because I'm like, oh, we should have a TikTok, and I should see what people are doing, so like we
But
can
then
have
you
an idea.
see and you're like, God, I don't want to watch this.
No, I'm totally. I'm like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, where'd the last 2 hours go? And I'm
It makes
watching.
me weird and old when I'm on there too long, and I'm 23.
Yeah, yeah. To me, it's always like I end up watching. It's so the algorithm is so good that it's like this is what you want to watch. And like I don't want to watch that. And the next thing you know, you're like an hour and a half in, and you're like, all I've watched is these bail bondsmen go and take people who have not shown up to court for the last hour, and I want my life back. And you're like, I didn't even know I wanted to watch it. Um,
That's more me with YouTube. My YouTube recommended knows me incredibly well.
what's your YouTube poison of choice?
It's literally like, well, music videos. I watch a music video almost every day, and then
Yeah.
like just these random, like usually film related like essays
Oh, cool.
or just like like just YouTube documentaries and YouTube essays. I'm like, I teach me about this right now, and then I usually go down a hole with whatever I just learned about.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Nice. Well, Chloe, this was awesome. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us, and thank you for taking the extra time to work out our technical difficulties.
No problem.
Always appreciated. So listeners, go check out Zilched when they come to town, or just check out their music in general. And that's it, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. This was a great conversation.
Awesome. And listeners, we'll catch you guys again next week. And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. Thanks again for listening.